Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about a harsh reality, in my humble opinion. Hasbro, Dungeons and Dragons is worth far more than Hasbro. All right, let's get into it. All right, that's a bold statement, right? Let me back that up. All right, so Hasbro owns Dungeons and Dragons, all right? But they also own Power Rangers, and they own Peppa Pig, and they own they own Transformers, right? Like, they own a lot of stuff, a lot of intellectual properties. They own G.I. Joe, right? Like, they own a ton of stuff, right? They are a large global corporation who is, they own Magic the Gathering. They own Magic the Gathering. They own the most successful collectible card game in the world. Magic the Gathering made an entire tabletop industry, right? Like, collectible card games are an industry in themselves, and they have transformed how fantasy art works. It is huge. It is a very, very big deal, right? Like, Magic the Gathering is a big deal. You could take all that, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Magic the Gathering, Peppa Pig, right? Like, Hasbro owns a ton. It's nothing compared to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is worth more than Hasbro combined, right? And I think this is important to understand this because Hasbro does some really strange things and it reacts in some weird ways. And I think people inside Hasbro are starting to understand why this is true, right? Like, they're starting to understand that this is true, and it's upsetting to them. And I get it. I totally get it. What are some clues on this? Well, the beginning of 2024 started with a major rumor, huge rumor. Literally 1,000+ sources, news sources carried this and said, oh my gosh, it looks like Tencent is going to buy Dungeons and Dragons. Hasbro came out and said this is not true. We're not looking to sell. We're not looking to sell to any global corporations. Tencent made no moves on it, right? And so the rumor evaporated, right? But when the rumor came out, no one was saying, "Oh no, that can't be right." People were like, "That totally makes sense." Dungeons and Dragons just had a massive success, over $1 billion in sales with one video game. Larion came out with one video game, and that one video game arguably made more money than everything else in Dungeons and Dragons combined, right? But the other thing is, like, and so basically Hasbro is this global corporation that has that literally has properties that have decades of legacy, right? And should be valuable. But the reality is Tencent is a $500 billion valuation company. That's $500 billion is the valuation on Tencent, right? No one blinked an eye when there was a rumor that it was going to buy Dungeons and Dragons. They were like, of course a $500 billion international mega corporation would want to buy Dungeons and Dragons. And the reason why is Dungeons and Dragons is a sleeper, right? You walk down Main Street and you go, I got $1,000. Tell me what Dungeons and Dragons is. You're going to get the following answers. When you talk to muggles, they're going to say, that's a board game. They're going to say, that's a video game. They're going to say, that's a game. They're going to say, that's something that my nephew plays in the basement, right? Like, they don't know what it is, right? But increasingly, the most intelligent, charismatic, and confident people in the world are very aware of Dungeons and Dragons. The smartest people in the world grow up playing it, right? Everybody, you don't get out of college without playing D&D. You don't get out of college without playing D&D. So that means the hyper-educated are highly aware of it, right? You go to Hollywood, you spin around and you throw a rock, you're going to hit a screenwriter who plays Dungeons and Dragons, has played Dungeons and Dragons, or will play Dungeons and Dragons, right? The narratives that are forming our entire culture across the globe is marinated in Dungeons and Dragons. right? Novels. And then here's the kicker. Dungeons and Dragons is an infiltrator. It has infiltrated every single intellectual property that matters on the planet. Through Fortnite, through Magic the Gathering, through Funko Pop, right? It has infiltrated. Lord of the Rings is allowing them to print the Lord of the Rings estate is allowing Dungeons and Dragons to print, right? The original Dungeons and Dragons that broke, that infringed on their intellectual property. You know why that's happening? Because Hasbro is sending them multi-million-dollar checks every month and has been for a year and a half, right? It has infiltrated the most powerful intellectual properties on the planet. Dungeons and Dragons is not understood, right, by muggles. But the wizards of this world, they know exactly what it is. And it is moving like a creature that has never been seen anywhere on this planet. Dungeons and Dragons is far more valuable than Hasbro, in my humble opinion. And I think we're seeing mounting evidence of this. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.